Detroit Lions versus the Arizona Cardinals. I actually have a pretty strong start grade. No, I'm sorry, I apologize. I was reading the wrong line. Matt Stafford, I don't have as a start. The Detroit Lions running back situation is way too murky for me. I'm going to stay away from it. I do have two running backs as kind of startable, but I don't know if that's Kerryon Johnson, Adrian Peterson, Swift. I don't know. I'm staying away from it. If Golladay comes back, I think you start him regardless. If he's not back, I think Marvin Jones is his start. But I wouldn't start two wide receivers this week for Detroit. Hockenson, though, I like the matchup for him. I think he's a start. For Arizona, Kyler Murray, weekly start. Drake, weekly start. DeAndre Hopkins, weekly start. I actually like this week based on matchup Fitzgerald over Christian Kirk, and then I stay away from everybody else. Take it away, David.
I think this week, and I'm really hoping that this week is going to be both the Antonio Gibson and the DeAndre Swift coming out party. It's two great matchups for running backs, right? Again, this is a 2-game sample size. There's a lot of factors here which could be affecting this. Through 2 games, Detroit has allowed the 3rd most fantasy points to running backs. Arizona has allowed the 4th most points to fantasy running backs. So you talk about the Cardinals, one thing that stands out, they've allowed 10 receptions and 159 receiving yards and 2 receiving yards to opposing running backs through 2 games. That is very good news for DeAndre Swift, who quietly has led this team in snaps the past 2 weeks.
Yes.
It gets a little bit distorted when you look at the carries. You look at Peterson had 7, Kerryon had 8, Swift only had 5. It's kind of skewing the reality of the situation because when you go look at the receptions, DeAndre Swift was the Lions' leading receiver this past week. He had 5 receptions. Next leading receiver was Hockenson with 4. He had 60 yards. Hockenson had 62. But on a reception basis, he was number 1, had the highest reception, 5 for 60. If he didn't touch the ball in the ground game, he scored you 11 PPR points just catching the ball. Talk about the Arizona Cardinals offense right now. They're on fire. Kyler Murray's on fire. DeAndre Hopkins is on fire. They're going to score points. I like Matthew Stafford as a start this week. He's getting Kenny Golladay back. TJ Hawkinson's taking that next step. DeAndre Swift is ready and able out of the backfield. I think it's going to be a good game for him. On the other side, Antonio Gibson, he completely took control of that backfield in week 2. Peyton Barber was nowhere to be found. Yep. And J.D. McKissick still got worked in a little bit. That's to be expected. They're not going to give Gibson 100% of the snaps. He took over in week 2. He's facing the Lions, who have allowed 353 rushing yards, 2 rushing touchdowns, another 8 receptions, 88 yards, and a receiving touchdown to running backs through 2 weeks. Gibson, Swift, both starts for me this week.
Yeah, Swift is interesting, and this is one of these things that, I mean, you can see it, like when we watch the games. I mean, Swift is the guy. It was weird to me that Kerryon Johnson ended up being the thing. It's this hot hand stuff. It drives me freaking crazy. The logic of it doesn't make sense. You have somebody who's number 1 on your depth chart for a reason. You have different factors. You know, your offensive line opens up a hole you can drive a semi-truck through for your 3rd-string running back, and suddenly you're going to reward him with carries because nobody touches him and he runs clean 80 yards. I mean, give me a break, guys. But anyway, Swift is the one guy I think you can count on in Detroit. Arizona is interesting. I mean, talk about the NFL draft. Like, sometimes it just works out for you. Like Miami, they needed a quarterback. They didn't panic. They didn't trade up and lose draft capital. They get Tua. Arizona, in getting Simmons, best defensive player in the draft. Their big weakness last year, covering the tight end. The one guy that can help that weakness more than anything, they end up getting in their draft selection there. I love who they got. I love that their defense is getting better and better. Of course, their offense is good. I believe these two teams squared off in week 1 last year, Kyler Murray's first game. Kyler Murray was a little rough, then went off on this team in the second half, ended up forcing a tie. I like Arizona. Talking about running back, Washington, what can they do as an offense right now? They can dump the ball off. And then you play San Francisco in week 1, who likes to run the ball. So, again, this is going to be kind of a confirmation week. I do think Swift is the guy. I think Arizona controls the game. I think it's Arizona by 7, but let me hit you with the line here. It's Detroit plus 6.5 against Arizona. Who do you got, David?
Give me Detroit here just because I feel like these are 2 good offenses who, as much as the Cardinals have made improvements defensively, I don't think they're there yet. So I expect this to be a 1-score game. Whoever's got the ball last probably wins. I expect it hopefully be like a 4 or 5 point game.
Yeah, I mean, you give Stafford 6.5 points. It's like last week when the line opened up Dallas and Atlanta. It opened up Atlanta -7. I'm like, you're giving Matt Ryan and that offense 7 points. So I get it. This to me is a game, Arizona, like, okay, San Francisco, you earned that victory. Your offense did great against a good defense and everything, but their receivers were hurt, so they weren't 100%. But respect to Arizona. Last game, Washington's defense is very good. Arizona put up points. Respect. This is a game that I think Arizona, if they're a viable deep run playoff team, this is the game that they win by 10 points because it's a trap game. How mature are you as a team? I'm betting on Arizona. I'm going to take Arizona to cover this spread, although I think it's a close one.